The year my father and mother were wed, my father bought his wife a very beautiful baccarat chandelier. It weighed 1 ton and hung down 2 entire flights of stairs. Because it was so large, my father searched high and low for a home that would accommodate it. He chose a very old palatial home in the Welsh countryside. The mansion was 6 stories tall, and in the middle of the home was a tall, spiraled atrium with a glass ceiling. The stairs wrapped around the walls of the spiral, encircling the great chandelier at the top. As far as I can remember, I would spend my days lying beneath the cascading crystals, far above, and watching the twinkling prisms catch the sunlight and cast vibrant, breathing rainbows across the walls. My mother would smile at me and giggle to my father behind her hands. I was romantic, she said, a dreamer. My father smiled knowingly, but never bothered to glance my way. He only had eyes for my mother. At least, until my brother George came along. But I wasn't a dreamer. No, I fought sleep with my very breath. I preferred to spend my evenings dancing in the star fields that twinkled in the spiral on clear nights. If the moonlight shone into the great atrium, it transformed the baccarat into a million shimmering, glittering tiny stars. The chandelier was always gently swaying without a giraffe in the house, and would make the crisp, vibrant celestials dance on the wall to a song I could almost hear, and I would dance among them. One day I woke up from my afternoon nap to a sharp sound of a protesting metal groan. I arrived at the banister just in time to see the baccarat's metal support snap in two. The chandelier fell down half a story until it was brought to a violent and abrupt halt at the last remaining support. A thick nylon rope. George was playing with a train set far below, and I screamed at him. He looked up at me for a moment, and then he was obscured from my view as the nylon rope snapped and the chandelier went crashing down 5 stories to the first floor, where my mother had thrown herself protectingly over George. My father would only shed tears for them behind closed doors. A week after their deaths, Father had the baccarat repaired and rehung. It had been my mother's, and he loved her deeply. Perhaps he liked to look at it and think of her, but I think he rehung it for me, because he knew how much I loved it. But the chandelier wasn't the same. The gentle cadence it had loyally kept was now replaced by a stillness of absolute death. The rainbows were dull, almost colorless, and the dancing stars that had once glittered upon the walls were absent. The spiral atrium remained the same, as dark as the heart of an onyx. I spent my days and nights lying on the floor, looking up at the chandelier, hoping its magic would return to me. Some days, I could almost see the vibrant colors and the speckled starlight. Most days, I can see nothing at all. But nothing is better than the nightmare that peeks through the veil sometimes. Cruel and uninvited. Sometimes, I can feel the cold, the hunger, and the pain in my chest. Sometimes the dark nights and the dull days make sense. Sometimes I can see the chandelier for what it really is. Because sometimes I remember that it wasn't the baccarat my father hung from the top of the atrium that day. It was himself.